If I'm not mistaken, Governor's Wash should be somewhere down over there. I'm actually standing up on a ridge about maybe half mile to a mile down from the entrance, the gated entrance. I had intended on shooting this video there because according to the website, the National Park Service's website, their own website, Governor's Wash is still supposed to be open for day use for hikers and others, including those accessing it from, I think, within 100 feet of the water. But, interestingly enough, when we arrived at the gate, at which point I was going to get out and do my hiking and talk about this very topic, just so happened that a park ranger came pulling up to the gate from the opposite side, and I spoke with him, and he told me in no uncertain terms that the area was closed. Of course, you got to take my word for it that this interaction took place because I did not film it. I have this thing that I do not wish to incite any additional problems, I guess would be the word for it, when interacting with members of law enforcement. So I always put my camera away because, you know, things can escalate. And I did not want that to happen. But I can assure you the interaction did indeed take place. And when I had pointed out to the park ranger that the website stated that it was still open for day use for hikers, he told me that was not the case. That due to staffing problems and the amount of issues they had down there, they were just closing it off completely. And then he told me, when I questioned him a little bit more about it, he basically said I needed to write to my congressman because I might have better luck getting that area opened back up should I do so. Now, I don't know about you sightseers, but I was kind of like, yeah, right. I really don't think that Congress these days cares anything about Governor's Wash being reopened down here in Nevada. Now, for those of you who don't know, Governor's Wash was a place out here in the Lake Mead recreational area that allowed campers to boondock. And if I'm not mistaken, it was free boondocking, although I thought at one point perhaps they were charging maybe a nominal fee to camp there. Regardless, it was a really cheap place for people to come out and boondock out in this beautiful area. But not anymore. We can't even take a walk on the road that leads you to Governor's Wash because they have it completely shut down. So instead, I'm standing up on this ridge trying to shoot a video talking about Governor's Wash without actually stepping foot in the area and getting pegged for trespassing. Because believe me, I think that ranger would have loved to write me out a ticket for trespassing had I gone around the gate. Because, as he mentioned to me, the whole reason why he was even on the other side of the gate was because he had gotten a call to take care of some other trespassers. By the way, this road here where you see the vehicles coming, if you go back that way and around the curve a little ways, you'll find that road. You'd have to turn to the left coming from this direction, but you would turn to the left and the gate is right there. Leading into Governor's Wash, as everyone refers to, its official name may be Government Wash as far as Google Maps is concerned. And why do I even care about this closure? Well, I think you all know I am a huge fan and supporter of our national parks, our national forests, our national lands, the BLM, the lands that are here for us as citizens of the United States to use. And I have a huge problem when our government steps in and says that we, the people, cannot use the land. So if you didn't know that about me, now you know. Now you're clued in. This is why I'm doing this video, to bring you some awareness of what's going on, of what's happened down here in Lake Mead. Now, from what I understand, the closure of Governor's Wash occurred sometime last year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it would have been either late summer, early fall that they made that decision to close. However, I could be mistaken on that, so don't take what I'm saying as absolute fact. You may want to go and do some of your own research to verify and back up what I'm saying. But as far as I know, the closure of Governor's Wash occurred sometime last year. And the reason that they decided to close the wash, at least initially to camping and other activities of that nature, is because over time, that area, because of its economical factor in being a cheap or free place to camp, along with its close proximity to Las Vegas, it was becoming more and more a place for people who were basically without a home to come and stay relatively without any sort of, repercussion. They weren't being pushed off somewhere else. They could live out there in their tents, their campers, whatnot. Well, as you can imagine, that also brought in a wave of more vandalism, destruction of the nature, the natural surroundings, trash being left around, and more importantly, a lot of criminal activity taking place out there. According to the National Parks website, in their announcement of the closure of this area, it was said that within the previous 5 years, they had over 1,300 calls out there involving activities, criminal activities. Wow, isn't that an amazing sight? But I digress, because I was talking about the problems that were happening at Governor's Wash. Included in those calls, besides just for criminal activity, there was also calls for firefighting help, because of course they had to set vehicles on fire. From talking with one of the volunteers, they had, I don't know exactly how long ago this was, but someone had basically lit up, it was either their camper or a vehicle, something rather large, went up in flames, the whole thing burned, and then they just left it there, just left the remains to sit and rot out in this beautiful landscape. In fact, when we were here last time, we were warned not to go to Governor's Wash because of the criminal element, because of all that happening down there. It was like lawlessness, a miniature version of Slab City, I guess. At least that's what we were told. I can understand the reasoning behind why they would shut down the camping part of it. Because if you have this criminal element moving in and taking advantage of the spot, well, it's just drawing resources, already limited resources, away from their normal jobs to having to go out there and deal with things that really shouldn't be have to dealt with here in this national park. But what really grinds my old knickers and why I decided to make this video is the fact that now, even though their website, the National Park Service's website, says that you can access Governor's Wash if you're hiking, biking, or boating coming in from off the water, that now you can't. I mean, what the heck is that? And then, besides, now they put on a little disclaimer saying that was all before January 20th, 2025. The information may not be accurate or current.
What?
Not accurate or current? Gee, I wonder why. Given the fact that our national park system has basically been gutted by the current administration. Now, you know, this channel does not dive into political topics, and generally speaking, I do not allow any kind of political discourse in the comment section on this channel because this is all about sightseeing, right? But I do bring this up because I want you all to be aware of what's at stake here. We're talking about our public lands, these beautiful spaces that you and I have access to enjoy, to recreate in, whether it be with hiking, biking, boating, fishing, camping, whatever it is that you enjoy when heading out to your national parks, your national recreational areas, your national forests, your BLM land. I get the reasons why they shut down Governor's Wash for camping purposes. Oh, great. Garbage. A symptom of what's going on here in the parks with people not respecting the lands here. I get it. I get that there's only so much the rangers can do with things like that, with dealing with criminal elements that, well, you know, they had to shut it down. But now the fact is it's shut down completely. Like, I can't walk over there. I can't walk on the road there. I can't bike on it because I would be trespassing. And the park ranger made the comment that the reason that they decided to completely shut it down is because they don't have the resources to handle it anymore. Resources is something that our national park system has been struggling with for a while. And may I point out that resources include not only cash, funds, money, but it also includes people, workers, volunteers. Without them, you can pretty much say goodbye to having access to these public lands. Like what is now the case over at Governor's Wash. I don't know about you sightseers, but there's no way that I'm gonna sit idly by and just watch the progress in preserving these national landmarks, these national treasures, these national lands, however you want to describe them, be destroyed because the powers at be don't value them for the sake of the people and just want to eliminate our access to them. Or whatever it is that their plan is in the name of eliminating waste. I don't know about you sightseers, but in my world, spending a day or more out enjoying our most beautiful lands throughout the United States has never been and never will be a waste. In fact, it's an experience that not everyone gets to have. And if we don't speak out about it, someday others may not be able to experience it either. Which is why, despite societal pressures to keep quiet, I'm speaking out. Until next time.